Manoj Bajpayee. Macron meeting quote-unquote legends of Indian cinema. Professor Swaran Singh, this is one thing that we're talking about, that cultural exchange, and the French president praising Indian film. India and France have that in common. Films are integral part of French culture, integral part of Indian culture, and a lot that can be learnt through the medium of movies.
Absolutely. In fact, other than India, which produces largest number of films, France is also, has enormous credentials in filmmaking. In fact, other than the United States Academy Awards, the most important film festivals are actually held in France. So that is part of the cultural connect that we are talking of. And in that sense, connecting people creates constituencies which will then ensure that the decisions made at the leadership level are, can be carried forward in coming, years and coming decades. So this is part of cultivating domestic constituencies on both sides, where people understand and, appreciate why that kind of unusual cooperation is being built between India and France. And since India's focus has clearly been on Make in India, and we have to strengthen our manufacturing sector a great deal, we are already doing fairly well in services. So here, when you're talking of manufacturing in terms of defense production, India's focus on indigenization and diversification has faced difficulties with both Russia, which has showcased that it has not been able to deliver, for example, S-400 missiles on time, or with United States, which has not been able to deliver jet engines 404, despite so many efforts to ensure we can continue with those imports. So France, in that sense, could perhaps emerge across whole spectrum of defense production sectors, a very powerful partner for India in future. And therefore, when we are talking of a domestic production of even Rafale jets, the Defense Acquisition Council of India, when it approved recently the purchase of 114 Rafale jets, has already put a condition that 50% of the production should involve indigenous local assets, local sourcing should be. It's not just being produced in India, but indigenization means 50% of the jet production will be actually Indian as such. So in that sense, coming decades, for example, this whole production lines are going to be ready by 2030, and the production will happen during 2030s. We'll see that France is expected to emerge as a very strong defense production, defense research and innovation partner of India.
Okay.
And just like BrahMos, we keep celebrating that kind of partnership with Russia. India's approach to not accept license production, but simply work on, starting from blueprints, innovation, research, development, production, and export. That kind of, across the spectrum, across several sectors, kind of partnership is going to be built between India and France. And that is where AI-driven manufacturing, again, that is where Prime Minister has invited President Macron, to the AI Impact Summit meeting in Delhi, just like Indian Prime Minister, when he was going to G20 summit meeting to Canada, had stopped in Paris to attend a similar AI summit in Paris that President Macron was hosting. So connecting not just in manufacturing across various sectors, but also connecting AI-driven manufacturing of future in that sense is again something that is going to bring India and France together. So it's going to be a long-term, very strong relationship in the making, which perhaps would fructify and deliver in India becoming a Viksit Bharat by 2047, in which manufacturing sector has come to be a very, very important segment, important focus priority area for Prime Minister. And therefore, that is why I think we see this relationship being built across several sectors, also focusing on, as they will be addressing today, a group of business leaders, startups, researchers, innovators, how to also collaborate, work together in skill building, and in that kind of best practices sharing to train younger populations, which will then ensure that partnership will grow in future. And when manufacturing partnerships are fructifying in coming decades, then we have the workforce already prepared to go and deliver in making that partnership really strong and fruitful for both sides.
Absolutely fair point. I was going to get to that. The people-to-people ties. Professor Swaran saying, amidst all this big talk of from everything from defense to trade deals, the people-to-people ties between India and France that needs to be stepped up, especially what Ambassador Jayandas was talking about. The skilled manpower. Being able to find employment, find work. There's also so much that can be done on the cultural and educational front as well.
Indeed, in fact, right from day one, culture and diaspora have been very much drivers of Prime Minister Modi's foreign policy. So whether it is today evening cultural show at India Gate in Mumbai, or you would remember 2024 included visit to Jaipur, where there was a road show in old part of the city with the colored masala chai being offered to President Macron. He was using UPI at that time. So cultural connect and people-to-people connect between India and France is really very strong. Sometimes it's also seen as intangible pillar of the relationship, and that is why several people, including President Macron, has often said that India is like France of Asia and France is India of Europe. So intangible connects between these two are really significant, but also tangibles. I think if you look at the kind of reality that President Macron has been facing at home, both internal instability, protests, and his inability to resolve Ukraine crisis despite his taking a great deal of lead, President Trump trying to disentangle from Europe, putting pressure on European nations, and France being a major one among them, to take defense budget to 5% of GDP, in which 1.4% will be defense production.
Yeah.
From this perspective as well, his India visit comes as a very great opportunity for President Macron, who's going to sign Rafale deal of about $35 billion, largest in India's history. But in that sense, it is going to boost the defense sector of France, and of course make India's defense production, defense innovation and research and development also much more competitive, not just at home, but also in global market as well.
We are continuing to get you all the latest visuals of Prime Minister Modi meeting Emmanuel Macron. Bear in mind that they are in talks at the Maharashtra Lok Bhavan in Mumbai. Those are the latest visuals from there, from the Lok Bhavan in Mumbai. Delegations from both sides meeting for the exchange of key MOUs in defense and other areas. High-level talks in progress even as we continue to get you the latest on the visit. I'm going to bring this back to Professor Swaran Singh. Professor Swaran Singh is going to move back to Delhi after this visit, even as we continue to show visuals of his interaction with the legends of Indian cinema, as we called it. We had the delegation of actors and others from the film industry in Mumbai. Anil Kapoor, Manoj Bajpayee, Shabana Azmi, Zoya Akhtar, and many others. That is symbolic of what to expect of him, of this visit, because one is that you have the heads of state meeting, and parallelly you have the defense ministers meeting. And a day like this includes everything from a visit to the 26/11 terror attack, paying tributes to that, to a cultural event extravaganza at the Gateway of India, a press statement that's going to be issued at the Taj Palace Hotel. And before all of this already, there is this meeting with the Hindi film industry.
Very clearly, Krishna, after 2023 hosting of G20 by India, India's convening power of such major international events is absolutely not in doubt. So you can see how such hectic program for President Macron is being arranged. As you mentioned, meeting with defense minister, prime minister himself is in Mumbai. They are going to address business leaders, startups, researchers, and meeting the film fraternity in that sense. So showcasing India's soft power. Indian Bollywood film industry is very global in that sense. And for almost 2 to 3 decades, you will notice the films have a lot of shooting done in foreign locales. Because not only that connect is stronger, but large number of not just overseas Indians, but foreigners are also often very much appreciative of watching Bollywood films in that sense. So that stronger relationship between two states and the kind of convening that
Right.
India is doing and showcasing India's cultural strength, both ancient and modern, is part of that engagement with the French president when he is in India.
Professor Swaran
And
Singh,
in
please
that
hold on to your
sense,
thoughts. We have some latest visuals coming in, requesting you to please hold on to your thoughts. We're talking to you, but the latest visuals on your screens, ladies and gentlemen, are of the bilateral meeting that's underway between India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi and France's President Emmanuel Macron. Prime Minister Modi, accompanied on the table by India's Foreign Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar, the National Security Advisor NSA Ajit Doval, among others. Those are the latest visuals from the Lok Bhavan, the Maharashtra Lok Bhavan in Mumbai, where this all important bilateral meeting and the exchange of MOUs are taking place. Professor Swaran Singh continues to be with us. Professor Swaran Singh, you can see, it's getting to business as quickly as you can, because there needs to be that statement that comes out after this meeting is done with, where they will announce what all are the deals, what all are the MOUs that have been signed. We have some idea. Clearly, the defense deal, the Rafale deal, was already pre-announced before the visit, but there's lots more that we can learn at the end of this all-important bilateral meeting.
that's right. Other than what we were mentioning, soft power, to people connect, business relationship are also a very strong pillar of the relationship between India and France. France already has, I think, more than 7,500 companies operating in India, providing employment to, I think, nearly 500,000 people in India. Likewise, India has about, I think, 150 to 200 Indian companies in France, giving employment to 8,000 plus people in France. So that strong economic partnership already exists, and therefore we will see that moving forward in a much faster manner, which will see more and more MOUs signed in startups, in different sectors of business, in education, in research and development, among innovators. I think innovation is the new buzzword of the current narratives of India-France relationship. So we will see a whole range of, from sports to films, maybe whole lot of MOUs to be signed. But what is interesting is the whole new mood that we notice between India and France, where they see each other as almost indispensable, inevitable partners to work together, as they want to really look for alternatives to, avoiding excessive dependence on, let's say, Russia, United States, or China, and build this kind of partnerships among middle powers. And that is, I think, unique niche area where India and France are showcasing their very strong trust and understanding with each other, and are trying to, open up new sectors, in which, of course, right now Rafale deal and defense cooperation is emerging to be most important. But it's also very futuristic kind of focus that both sides have. So making it future proof, as if, is what is making them to also focus on artificial intelligence driven research and production, and therefore that would perhaps make their manufacturing much more competitive around the world, not just for domestic consumption but also for their international trade. I heard we have been mentioning of bilateral trade at this stage being really much smaller than where it should be. It's about 15 to 16 billion dollars, but the good side is that it's a very balanced trade, both sides importing, exporting about 7.5 billion dollars roughly, with a minor difference here and there. And that balanced trade very often is an indication that it can grow into future, because whenever trade becomes virtually one sided, then the growth rate is sometimes difficult to achieve. And since it is a very balanced trade, possibly we will see new avenues emerging. I think we've been talking about textile sector as one important sector where India can, with the new EU FTA that we have signed, with tariffs coming down to 18%, in different sectors, even lesser. So textile could perhaps become an interesting area where European market and French market could become very interesting for Indian exports. And therefore, I think in that sense, it's a kind of a very positive and constructive kind of visuals that we notice, reports that we notice. The whole tenor and tone of a relationship is very futuristic in that sense. And I think in that sense, people to people relationship, business to business relationship, and of course government to government relationship are all apparently going in tandem. And that is something that gives a certain amount of assurance that agreements that are going to be signed now, the kind of mutual understanding that is going to be built and developed during this visit of President Macron would perhaps be able to fructify in a whole new kind of stronger relationship between India and France, because I keep saying this is very complementary relationship where both apparently need each other to ensure that their own development pace continues to grow faster. And India being a world's largest marketplace for investments, India being the fastest growing economy, has its own attraction, just like the French technology has, for example, attraction for India. So complementarity would mean that they can continuously expand into different sectors and, of course, strengthen the relationship that already exists between two sides. And then, of course, there will also be focus on not just bilateral people to people, business or government to government relations, but also how they look at ensuring regional stability and peace, how they look at the global challenges from Ukraine to climate change and so on, where again they will have to ensure that they can showcase jointmanship in resolving some of those issues. Terrorism, I'm sure, is going to be definitely one of them, because if you remember from Charlie Hebdo of 2015 terror attack in Paris, from 2015 to almost 2020, there were several examples of terrorist attacks in France. And I agree with my co-panelist who said that, there was direct linkage, direct or indirect linkage to India's neighboring country being partly responsible or involved in breeding that kind of
Right.
terror groups, which are a problem for the whole world, including France. So on issue of terrorism, I think again India and France speak in one voice, and that would also be one area where I'm sure the joint statement will have some very clear indication of a clear understanding and trust on both sides.
India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi has met France's President Emmanuel Macron at the Lok Bhavan of Maharashtra in Mumbai, marking a key engagement during the French leader's fourth visit to India and first visit to Mumbai. The discussions are expected to focus on strengthening the India-France strategic partnership with emphasis on defense cooperation, trade, innovation, and other key global issues. They will also jointly inaugurate the India-France Year of Innovation 2026 with a focus on artificial intelligence, deep tech, and clean energy. The day's schedule includes bilateral talks at the Lok Bhavan, followed by exchange of MOUs and a joint press statement at the Taj Palace Hotel, as well as an evening cultural event at the Gateway of India. Meanwhile, defense ties will also be in focus as Defense Minister of India, Rajnath Singh, holds talks with his French counterpart, Catherine Vautrin, in Bengaluru to boost defense cooperation and industrial collaboration. India and France are set to deepen a wide-ranging strategic partnership with the launch of the India-France Year of Innovation 2026, a year-long initiative focused on deep tech, AI, quantum research, semiconductors, clean energy, and startups, with over 110 French companies engaging with India. Defense cooperation remains a key pillar. India has approved the acquisition of talking to you.